we knew that Pittsburgh would try this at some point in time, be the team that would keep going for two. And even though statistically we're always told that, hey, all you got to get is 50% of them, they did get 50% of them, and ultimately it cost them the game. They went Oregon against Nebraska on us. That's basically what they did. Why do they – and they were playing the percentages, right? Well, eventually, it's like the guy who keeps calling tails. I got a 50-50 shot. I got a 50-50 shot. I keep putting money on Reddit, the roulette table. Like, eventually, the numbers are going to work out. Like, we had the Steelers defense letting the Cowboys score on the next to last Ezekiel Elliott touchdown. We had then the Steelers getting the ball and racing it up the field, and then the fake spike a la Dan Marino, which, remarkably enough, I don't know if you know this, Madden has a fake spike play. Madden has the fake spike play, and my son used it against me. Saturday night, he had a sleepover. He's 7 years old, and his buddy's like 7, only child, plays a lot more video games, and he was giving me a run for his money. And then late in the game, they used the fake spike, and it worked. And I was like, and then he tried to run the fake spike on Sunday morning when we were just playing a friendly game Madden. I was like, dude, the fake spike doesn't just work in the middle of the field. It only works at the end of the game when you're rushing up the line of scrimmage. Everybody thinks you're going to spike the ball. But the thing that it gave us most is the strange love affair we have, not necessarily with the Cowboys or with Ezekiel Elliott or with Dak Prescott, but the completely unreasonable sense of who the Cowboys are, how they get to where they are, and who they've actually played. Bill Parcells tells you, the famous Bill Parcells saying is, you are what your record says you are. But last year I told you the Washington Redskins weren't any good. They hadn't beaten a team with a winning record, and they got in the playoffs, and they were exposed as not being any good. Carolina Panthers last year only beat 2 teams with a winning record, more difficult schedule this year, plus changing their defensive backfield, and frankly, Cam Newton has regressed towards the mean some. They lost a 17-3 lead and look like they're on the outside of the playoffs for good after yesterday. You go back 3 years ago, Kansas City was 9-0 to start the season. And I was like, yeah, they played like 6 backup quarterbacks, and the starters they played were junk. So, Adam, if you would, I have both schedules brought up in front of me. Okay, I have the Dallas Cowboys schedule. Right? So the Cowboys' first game of the year, remind me, was against the New York Giants, right? And they lost that game. Now, I don't know how you judge defensive football teams. But no matter how we judge them, the Giants and the Eagles are the 2 best defenses that the Dallas Cowboys have gone against, correct? Right? Now, if I simply go by points allowed, the Giants are 11th and the Eagles are 3rd. Eagles, of course, won at home against the Atlanta Falcons. That one of my 2 NFL picks, which came through for you. And they lost to the Giants. Dak was okay against the Giants, was terrible against the Eagles, is getting credit for putting out the fire that he started by beating the Eagles on a last-second touchdown pass, right? But he was terrible in that game. We can all agree that was far and away his worst game. If that was a game and it stood on its own, you'd replace him with Tony Romo. Fair? Okay. So the other teams that they have beaten along this 8-game winning streak are the Steelers, the Browns, the Packers, the Bengals, among others, right? And so the Browns, San Francisco, who they beat, has the worst defense in football, both yardage allowed and points allowed, 31.4. Cleveland is the 2nd worst defensive team in the league. Indy, who they also beat, the 4th worst defense in the league. Well, they haven't played Indy? Excuse me. Green Bay is 24th in points allowed to this point in the year. All right. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers in points allowed, they're 3-way tied for 14th. Right. But remember, they have a ton of injuries, and the truth is that the Steelers, in terms of yards allowed and rush yards allowed, are more bottom of the pack. Yards allowed, they are 22nd in the league. Since he's a team that looks better on paper now than they did when they beat them. The point is this. The Dallas Cowboys are a good football team. Dak Prescott has played good football. Ezekiel Elliott is an outstanding back. but they played extremely soft schedule. Right? They played bottom of the league defenses by and large. And against those defenses, they've been able to mash them behind the best offensive line. And there are certain things you say to which, if one is true, the other has to be true, right? Like, did you guys watch the 60 Minutes with Trump? Like, the part that strikes out as hypocritical is when asked about same-sex marriage, he said the courts have decided that. The Supreme Court has decided it. When asked about Roe v. Wade, he wants to overturn it. Not sure if he's aware. Roe v. Wade is a Supreme Court heard case, which was, in fact, decided. Right? So you have people today that say, well, Jerry Jones is going to screw it up because Jerry Jones is an idiot. Okay. But we would all conclude this is a very good football team that was built by, wait for it, Jerry Jones. Now, look, he gets help and they've gotten lucky in some cases, but the fact is, like, they've had a good team for a couple of years based upon what they have built. And so you cannot say that Jerry Jones is an idiot and then give him credit or give some imaginary character credit for building this football team. It's a really good team. They've gone against really bad defenses. And is it possible that if there's a correlation between Dak Prescott having an outstanding rookie season and Ezekiel Elliott having maybe the best rookie rushing season we've ever seen, is it just possible that the correlator is the offensive line is just better than everybody else?